Welcome to 101.1 FM WBRULP WFOOLP WVVXLP Providence. I'm your co-host, Dhruv Anand.
And I'm your co-host, Alejandro Jackson.
And this is the Outta Pocket Podcast,
where we pull conversation topics out of our pocket.
And occasionally, go out of pocket.
So on today's show, we are really pulling conversation topics out of our pocket, as we record this episode. So, we're just gonna talk about whatever comes into our heads, FCC approved though, and yeah, just hope you guys have a good time with us.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, to the audience, it's kind of just sure you could say we didn't really give too much thought to this week's episode, but honestly, I feel like there's not a lot that's been going on in our lives that would give us any interesting ideas to talk about. And B, I think we kind of gotten busy the last.
Not only that, and I think you and I both know, we don't want to spoil anything, but we had we have quite a few ideas for guest shows, and we didn't want to do so many guest episodes in a row.
That's true.
So we decided to do an episode just us, because the last two were guest episodes. We didn't want to do a third.
Yeah, we want to keep it interesting for you guys.
And not only that, but there are podcasts out there that are they bring a new guest on every episode, and those are fun and entertaining, and you get to see perspectives of people. But at the same time, just how many episodes do we have? Just the two of us. It started just the two of us.
Yeah, that's
we gotta
true.
Come back to it sometimes. It's just fun, just chill and just talk.
That's what's up.
So yeah, but yeah. So we're just gonna chat. But we do loosely have a couple of points that we want to touch upon.
Definitely.
But just apart from that, it's not there's no theme or topic to this episode.
Yeah. Well, with that out of the way, let's get into it, because I know one thing I did want to talk about. I didn't know how we were going to work it in, if we had some sort of structured episode. But I really wanted to talk about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, which we saw.
Directed by the Daniels.
A week ago?
Dang, was it really?
Yeah.
It feels a lot longer.
Because your parents were here, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Yeah.
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 Just over a week ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, shout out to Drew's family. They are the realest. Came out to Providence. They were here for a bit. They were here for a week.
They were here for a week. Yeah.
2 weeks ago. Cause
Yeah.
2 weeks ago from this past weekend. It was a pleasure to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Or more officially.
And they listened to the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, check out our 2 episodes ago. Your sister was on the show.
That's so true.
But yeah, it was a pleasure to meet them. It was really nice hanging out. But yeah, we went to go see the movie with them. I went to go see the movie with them. I don't know why I'm yeah, but and we went on a Saturday at 10:20 p.m.
Yeah, man.
Late, last showing of the day.
Low key, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, but it was also very spur of the moment. It wasn't we planned to go see the last showing of the day. It was oh snap, it's
mm-hmm.
late, but you want to go catch this movie?
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's true. Yeah, I know whenever you and I go to catch a movie at Providence Place, it's very, in general, it's not super planned out,
mm-hmm.
but usually it's at the end of the day, just because
that's how
we just got stuff,
Yeah.
So yeah, late night walks to and from Providence Place.
Mm-hmm.
The mall's kind of deserted. Walk by P.F. Chang's playing trap music, not the P.F. Chang's, bro.
Let's not talk about it.
The
secrets of the podcast.
Outta Pocket Podcast in the Chamber of Secrets, bro. That's one that nary a person shall hear. But the movie anyway. I'm not gonna lie, man. I loved it, and the more I think about it and learn more about it, the more I keep loving it. I've said this story so many times, but I'm gonna say it again. Every time I walk out of a movie when I'm watching it with you or like Joanne or something, at the end I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good. Like, not the best movie I've ever seen, but it was enjoyable. And I specifically turned to you at the end of this movie. I'm like, that is easily in the top 5 movies I've ever watched. And like, the more I think about it, I'd put it top 2, second only to like Into the Spider-Verse, which is like, my all-time favorite. But like, honestly, the more I think about this movie, the more I'm willing to be lenient with that first and second ranking, because like, man, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. No, I would agree. So like, I guess continuation to your little story is, I followed up by saying me too, and so the thing is, I will be honest, I'm not one for very like flashy campy stuff, and I will say the movie is very flashy and campy. However, it was like the message at the end of it that I took away. That's something that I'm a pretty big believer in, and so it's something we've kind of talked about on this podcast in episode 3, the last podcast where like the last episode where we winged it. So essentially the conclusion we got to at the end is sort of the main takeaway of the movie, and so I don't know, I really enjoyed watching it, and I'm very happy that I saw it with you, considering like it was just like, it just felt like a very, what's the word I'm looking for, gratifying experience, like especially like I said, after like we have like had a conversation about it on this show. It was just like, yeah, wow. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a lot we could say about this movie that hasn't already been said. But at the same time, I do want to avoid spoilers, because I feel like, at least by my experience, this movie had like a pretty unconventional like, I guess just like sort of like lead up to the release for me, or at least when I saw it, because I think like having watched it, you and I can both attest, like it's like an ambitious script, like really like blockbuster quality, like movie, but we actually watched it maybe like 3 weeks ish after it came out.
Really?
Or maybe a little bit more, and I think that has to do with like probably the more like indie nature of the film. It did come out of A24, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just I don't know, I thought like it was so crazy to me that I almost let watching this movie like slide by. I didn't even know like that it existed until a week before we watched it. When I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh wow, I guess that looks good, I'll go and see it. But yeah, I definitely didn't regret it. But yeah, and that goes for me saying like I want to avoid spoilers, because I'm not sure how many people in our audience have watched it at this point. But if you have any experience like me, like I feel like in recent weeks it's certainly gaining a lot of traction. So it's definitely like booming in popularity.
Yeah.
But in those first 2 weeks, I feel like it almost felt like an underground movie.
No, yeah, for sure.
At least from my perspective. I'm sure if you're like very invested in like, the film world, and you're keeping tabs on all these movies coming out, I'm sure you knew of it before, me. But yeah, just I don't know, like I kind of wanted to talk about, from sort of like a film critic's perspective. I'm not really qualified to talk about it, but from that perspective of like, was it a good quality film, and then like the audience perspective, where like, did we enjoy watching it?
Yeah.
And on both counts, I would say the movie crushed it. Yeah, like what are your thoughts?
First off, I want to question who actually. This is like a legitimate question of mine. Who like food critics and movie critics what are you critiquing about? Like, who wrote these guidelines? Like, I really want to know.
That's fair, bro.
Because you're like I don't know how qualified I am to. I was like, well, who said they were? Like, it's a real question. Like,
I mean, everyone's a critic, right? It's all just opinions.
No, I know,
at the
but
end
like
of the day.
to end up in a newspaper and be like, oh yeah, this was reviewed by Gustavo Le Poste. Like, I don't know, and I'm like, bro, like the guy from Ratatouille. Like, who trained him? Who said he was qualified? I don't know.
He just passed the taste bud exam, bro.
Yeah, where's this exam? Why can't I take it?
I mean, I guess you can. The taste bud police out here is just like, "Alright, bro, you goated. You taste food better
than other people." That's crazy. No, but I'm just Anyways, that was a very tangential.
No, but like I feel like that's kind of valid. Like, I've obviously I'm not really involved with the industry, so I don't know. But I think it probably has something to do with like. Well, first of all, I think you need to like be at least somewhat involved in like knowing how movies are analyzed or made. But I feel aside from that, you could kind of just get a job being like the movie guy at a newspaper or magazine who has like a column or like talks about this in articles, or especially with like digital publications. There's just so many people. You could start a blog.
So we movie critics.
Yeah, you could start a podcast.
That's what you're saying. That's crazy.
You could, I don't know.
No, it's just like I see on Rotten Tomatoes like audience score this, like critic score that. I'm like, who are these critics? Because I've never met them. I really want to know who they are. Because like, anyways, but I digress.
I feel like critics have no fun. that's the ultimate like.
I mean, I feel like you couldn't make arguments for both sides. You know, you like all you do is. I mean, well, maybe not all you do, but like a food critic doesn't sound so bad. Like, you know, you go, you eat stuff, and
yeah, but doesn't it make eating a Joe's Burger a less enjoyable experience?
Eating a Joe's Burger is already a mid experience.
I mean, not if it's after midnight, dude.
No,
when
eating a Joe's Burger is
okay.
Always
That's
a
fair.
mid-experience.
That's fair. But if I am fiending for some food, I've been like studying for hours, and I'm like,
Yeah, but I'm gonna go to Joe's and get a spicy chicken sandwich.
I can respect it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like those burgers,
that's fair.
There's something about those patties that leaves there's something that is left to be desired.
Moisture, bro.
Seasoning. Seasoning is my first answer. But anyways.
Yeah, we're getting mad off topic. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought it was really, you know, like I said, it was very like flashy, and it's very like out of pocket. It's very it's rated R, I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
So like, you know, yeah, there are like to be honest, in my opinion, I don't. If there was like a like rated R like 18 plus and like a rated R like 16 plus, it's definitely like a rated R 16 plus.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you know, super like it's not like Saw or like it is flashy, and I said, that's not something that I'm like a big fan of. Like you know what the best play, like, you know who's really like who they say is a character that is very representative of like camp and like campy, flashy, like Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's like that. I guess a lot of like that sort of acting that goes into it, and I think, but it gives the movie a lot of like flavor and character. And then I think like behind it all, once you get to the end and you sort of get to the resolution, like it just like I just, after seeing it all and like through that sort of campy acting, getting attached to all the characters, it really has the message resonate with you in a profound way. And so that's what I really enjoyed about it. I'm not gonna lie, I did think it was a little long. Like at some point I was like, okay, like
that's true. I mean, it does have like a 2-hour 20-minute runtime or something.
Yeah, it's just at one point I started feeling a bit like the scenes started to feel a bit unnecessary, and I was like, it feels like we've already kind of established this, and I was like,
Yeah, I feel like for me at least, the pacing felt really well done because not a lot of scenes felt extraneous. Whereas in a movie like The Batman, I feel like obviously we both talked about this before on the show. I like The Batman. Do you think it could have benefited from more cuts on the editing?
No, I do think so too. So like, I don't think the pacing was, like, I don't think it takes away from the movie. It's a very, very small, like, little nitpick.
Yeah.
I also had to like use the bathroom, and I was like, damn, bro. But anyways,
that's so true. You having to use a bathroom in the movies. Oh, I've been there, bro.
yeah.
I will say, like I've been going down a YouTube rabbit hole today, with my friend Feng Yu. So shout out, and also like it culminated in, so the Ivy Film Festival that Brown runs is this week, and it culminated at 5:00. They had a Zoom like panel with the Daniels who directed the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very cool and enjoyable to hop on and literally hear about, just listen to them answer our questions, just straight up over Zoom. And like they're very like witty, like the answers they gave were nuanced but also like funny, and just they seem like really, like, I don't know, just good dudes at the end of the day. And that's something that's been talked a lot about by the cast in all their like interviews about the movie, that working on the movie itself was just an enjoyable experience because everyone loved the script. Everyone was super passionate, and they kind of knew what they were working towards. And the environment on set was also just like very warm and welcoming from what I've heard. Obviously,
no, we were
I
there.
wasn't. Yeah,
we were there.
I was right there with them, but
we were in the studio. So they were recording in one studio a lot, and we were in the studio over recording our podcast episodes. So, yeah, we met them all. They're great people.
For real. And before I talk a little bit more about like what I enjoyed about the production side of the movie, I did want to add, I thought the script was very tight. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It was hard. Like, it was hard for me to imagine that they really had so many like moving parts and balls in the air, but they successfully managed to keep everything like not only relevant but also like have them all work together so wonderfully, and it really all tied together. Like, things that were, you would in a lesser movie, things that would be like a bit were brought back, not only for like using the bit again in a satisfying way, but like sometimes the bit in like act 1 became like a satisfying like emotional point of catharsis in act 3. And I think and other people who have watched the movie know what I'm talking about when I refer to that bit. But and like obviously we would be remiss if we didn't talk about just like the acting. Michelle Yeoh was great. I mean, she's always great, so there's not much to say. And like, I don't know, the whole cast really brought it, and all the interviews, they talk about the choice, like the interactions they had with the directors and with themselves, and apparently the whole so basically, from what I gather from all the YouTube rabbit hole I went down today, the production actually started pre-pandemic. So it's been happening for a while, but they had to obviously halt production and do a lot of things. Remember in the early days of the pandemic when we just had no idea what was going on?
Yeah.
They were still barreling through production. So it's really like wild to me that like they were talking about in one's video where they were doing like I want to say for Vanity Fair they were doing a scene breakdown. A lot of movies have that scene breakdown interview with Vanity Fair. And in this one, they were talking about, like, they filmed a scene on the last day of shooting before quarantine, but they didn't have Michelle Yeoh in it. So they had her, like, record it in, like, a green screen in Paris and then, like, work it in. And, like, more than that, they were talking about how a lot of the effects were practical, which I think is very, like, hallmark of the indie movie style, because you know just like lower budget, you aren't Marvel. You're not going to be able to pay billions of dollars to like visual effects powerhouses to make everything computerized, which granted, like I have appreciation for that. Like Doctor Strange uses that sort of effect style to great like wonder and awe, and like who doesn't love watching Spider-Man like swing around, even though like it's not even Tom Holland in the suit, it's a digi-double. But like there's something about practical effects that, you know, when like I don't really notice them when I'm watching the movie unless it's something like a puppet where it's like obviously like
like the Batman was really good at that. Like there was very focused on like the
right
cinematography and like moving away from that sort of what the superhero genre has become, which is a very like CGI, flashy in the sense of like I feel like flashy
using CGI as a crux to make up for
different kind of flash. Well, because I'm clarifying this because I was because I said I feel like I used the word flashy earlier to describe this movie. Like I feel like there's flashy campy and there's like flashy like Michael Bay flashy.
Yeah.
And I feel like the superhero genre has become very like like flashy, you know, like explosions and you know whatever, and like cool superhero landings and like right. I mean it's a stereotype.
This movie had like flash in a way that it had like panache. I'd say it had like a very defined and like just unique sort of visual aesthetic and style that felt intentional, and the directors just ran with it, and they made sure that style stayed there for the whole movie, which sometimes gets lost, you know. So yeah, I obviously like, or I was gonna say one more thing. So yeah, the practical effects, but apparently even you know that there were some visual effects like, you know, the bagel, or like stuff like that. Apparently, it was pretty much just like 5 dudes over the pandemic who were their friends, and they're like, "Hey, we need visual effects on the movie." Yeah, so they didn't have that big powerhouse that, you know, like I don't know. I don't want to say because I am a big Marvel fan. Like we both know this.
Yeah.
But there is something about like at some point the movies do start to like visually blend together. And there are exceptions. Guardians of the Galaxy is, you know, CGI, very CGI heavy, but at least the tone of the movie was unique when it first came out. Like
Thor Ragnarok for sure.
Black Panther was like visually it had its moments though. But at like music,
that soundtrack
goes fire. I remember just for watching it in theaters and just R.I.P. Chadwick, bro.
For real.
But I guess I say all that to say, if you haven't watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, I honestly can't recommend it enough. The whole message of like optimistic nihilism, in the face of a chaotic and frankly terrifying universe, where there are rarely ever moments of clarity, having hope, being close to the ones you love, trying your best, and like despite all the mess, just pushing through. And I think those are messages that resonated very strongly with not only you and I, but a lot of the audience who watched this movie. So yeah, I don't think we could say much more about it without actually getting into details.
Yeah,
so.
no, but yeah, no, I think. Yeah, I hope that was a good sense of what the movie was like. I know. I'm not gonna lie, you're a bit more passionate about it than I am.
Yeah,
I mean, I really enjoyed
it.
Fair. Yeah. So So yeah, now we really do. You have any other points you wanted to hit, or we're just freestyling?
We're just freestyling out here, bro.
All right. Well, that's something I do want to talk. I'm just.
Go ahead.
These coffee vending machines.
Oh.
Hey, yo, blessing, right?
Ain't no way, bro.
Flashback to This is actually a while ago now. This is like March. Before spring break. Yeah. Early March. I went with I was at Wellness. I went with a friend into like this kitchen area. I see this vending machine. Talking about make my drink. I'm like, what's up with this? Check it out. It's a coffee vending machine. I'm like, that's crazy. I didn't have time to test it out right there, so I left, whatever. I found myself in Wellness Center again, so one of the dorms on campus. And I'm like, I'm doing CS. It's 9 o'clock. I'm like, I remember there's a coffee vending machine downstairs. So I run downstairs. I find it. They have every coffee under the sun. They got not even just coffee, hot drinks, hot chocolates, mochachinos, lattes, hot water. If you want hot water, I don't know why, but and so
to throw in your friend's face, bro.
I mean,
what else do you use it for? Just get on the menace arc.
What else do you use it for? To clear up these allergies now that it's spring,
so
which I'll get on. That's
another subject.
I have a whole separate tirade for that, but these vending machines have been my life low key, because now
Is this about to become an episode of rants?
Yeah,
tirades, bro?
Yeah. But no, we record our podcast in the Rock, is a library here on campus. Occasionally we you and I, we wake up Sundays. Today's not Sunday, but
There's outstanding circumstances.
Yes, but and we come to the Rock, and now it is nice to just go to the vending machine and get a coffee before we just start recording our episodes. If you ever hear some plastic rustling in the background, that is me likely drinking one of my vending machine coffees. And for $2, I find personally they have changed my life. Because $2 and it's not even that bad. I personally don't
these coffees change your life more than that movie changed mine.
Yeah, probably. Me and coffee, we're tight, we're best friends. I make coffee multiple times every week. I'm a fiend. I'm very prideful.
Proud.
Prideful.
Prideful.
There you go.
Either one.
There you go.
Both of them are words.
Orgulloso. There you go. I'm just gonna orgulloso of my Cuban coffee, and for what it's worth from these vending machines, I think it's worth it. I'm
for $2.
For $2, I've been fiending.
Not shabby.
But anyways, that was my tirade about these, because I'm drinking one of these vending machine coffees right now. But this one's a little, because it was it seemingly seems to be one of the machine seems to be running out of
Yeah, it's a little watery. I mean, to be fair, it's pretty late.
Yeah,
so
but yeah,
it's probably ran out of juice throughout the day.
But my other tirade, hey yo, I'm from Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got one season. It's called summer. It's called hot. Yeah,
hot and humid, baby.
It's called the tropics, right? And So I don't really, I have like allergies, when the mangoes bloom and whatnot. Never have I been beaten up by allergies so quickly and so aggressively like I have being in an actual spring season. Now that I'm away from home, and on top of that, all right. So this is, part of it is, I think, one, I'm exposed to all of these new like plants and stuff that are probably not native. Like, I mean, I've lived in Miami my entire life, right? So there are probably a lot of flora here that I'm not used to, that I'm like,
alien pollens, bro.
yeah, them alien pollens. And so also last week I got sick for a day. It was quite the oddity. Woke up one day with a sore throat.
Me too,
out of
man.
nowhere.
I think that was unrelated, but
yeah, it was really weird. I woke up with a sore throat out of nowhere, and it was gone as quick. It showed up in a day, and it was gone in a day. And I think and I tested negative for COVID. I went to urgent care just to get tested for strep. I didn't have strep. I don't have mono. So shout out to me for being clean.
Beating the case.
Yeah, being the case, being 3 cases. But yeah, so I think according to the doctors, I just got jumped by the common cold.
Dude, I think I got jumped by the common cold too.
Yeah,
I'll tell that story later.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about how I do want to quickly touch upon how COVID has shaped our perception, because now now something's wrong with you, it's COVID.
I was freaking out.
Yeah, but
it's
anyways,
crazy.
So that's we'll get into that. But
yeah, for me, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if there's some wood to knock on, so I'm gonna just knock on my head. But my allergies haven't been crazy this year. Normally I get them pretty rough, but I think between a combination of maybe I'm just outdoors more. I've been really leaning on this nasal decongestant, low key.
Mm-hmm.
I just 2 puffs in the morning, or 1 puff per nostril in the morning, 1 puff per nostril at night.
Yeah.
And it keeps me clear. I don't think my nostrils have been 100% tidal volume at max capacity clear nose in a while, but they're consistently at a 75, 80. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So allergies haven't been doing me that dirty.
Well, that's the thing. I think I got that. I think my sickness kind of jumped me and opened the door, because then I had I woke up, that's I was doing okay, right, and then I woke up that morning with a sore throat, and I was also fairly I felt kind of mucusy. It was weird, right? And I think ever since then, I haven't fully been back to normal, how I was feeling prior to that. I'm not sick anymore, but now I just a lot of runny nose and blowing your nose. But Zyrtex, I've been popping Zyrtex once a day, keep the allergies down, like you said, nasal spray once in the morning, once at night, and just slowly I'm getting better. Every day I feel a little better, but yeah, it's been crazy out here. Miami's way different from how it is up here, and also the humidity. That's another thing. I'm not used to not being in such a temperate climate, and so most of the time, the humidity, part of that really just hot, humid air kind of clears up your nose for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as being in a sauna.
Yeah.
So you kind of it helps out. Yeah, not here. Nah. So, but yeah. So then what I did want to touch upon the fear COVID has caused.
Yeah, man. I got jumped 2 days ago or 3 days ago at this point, by some sort of virus or something. I think I just got really tuckered out the night before, or just I went to bed and I woke up, and I've been popping the vitamin C. I've been getting my exercise in. My immune system is, I'm sure, handling his job pretty well, but I think the combination of being really just tired and messed up that one night just opened up the floodgates, and like the next day I was out like straight clocked.
Yeah.
I like chilled in bed, but my first thought was like once I started feeling like whenever I start mounting like an immune response or something, my first like the thing that tips me off is usually when my joints start aching.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get a temperature and my joints start aching. Um and like I guess I sometimes get the other symptoms, but those are like the main ones. So once I felt that, I'm like, oh god, this better not be COVID. John Green's coming this week. I can't miss that.
Yeah. Here's my thing though.
Tested negative, beat the case.
I would argue that because you said your immune system is doing its job. I would argue that, to be honest, all of ours are, because like, so we've basically been wearing masks every day for the last 2 years, and although I think they have been needed, and I think and to be honest, going forward, I think they should be used more often.
That's true.
The side effect that comes with that is we are now, like, our immune systems are now super like fragile, because like when you protect yourself from everything and you're never like exposed to anything, the first thing that hits you is like, oh snap, it's been a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like, either way we go, like, I can get into a whole conversation about like
Wasn't it like
antibiotics and
flu at like a record low in 2020
yeah,
for that reason? Not a lot of contact with other people.
yeah.
Not like even when you do, chances were you were wearing a mask.
But that's the thing. Like, I feel like, right? Like, I think, after not having to mount an immune response for so long, like the first thing that kind of that gets at you, it's a wrap. So I think like, cause right? So like, here at Brown University, right, they recently removed the mask mandate, and so slowly as as time has gone on, people have become a bit more relaxed, and you're starting to adapt to normal life again. It's something that we should look forward to and be happy about. However, you're gonna tell me that right when that happened, that's when I get sick? Like, that's not a coincidence. Like, so, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? We both got over it pretty quick. But it's just I think it's just a reminder that, like, one, things other than COVID exist.
So true.
Which, because it's hard to, like, for the last 2 years, everything's, has been COVID, and I think it's been important to focus on it because it's a global pandemic. But also, now we also have to be careful of other things, right? Like, we can't go around, like, discounting the flu, for example, and be like, oh, well, the flu's not COVID, so it's not going to do anything. It's like, no. And even, like, the common cold, like, it'll sneak up on you. It'll put you out of commission for a few days, so. And yeah, just, you gotta get back to adapting to normal life, and also just kind of be careful because COVID is not entirely gone, and so the more complacent we get, it can sneak back up on us. It
low-key
is. It is kind of sneaking back up on us.
But no one's talking about it anymore because I hate to say it. I mean, and this goes to my thoughts about like the media, but the moment's passed. And everyone's up in arms about, it seems like, inflation and Russia, or not even Russia so much anymore, which is crazy because there is still actively a global conflict happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not to say that's not to say these aren't things that need to be talked about. It's just, God, there's so much that needs to be talked about, and COVID is one of those things, but it's just getting sidelined because people are tired of it. I'm tired of it. Like, I honestly don't know where I would be right now if it weren't for the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Or why did I say that like it was a good thing? Like, no, objectively.
Yeah, those optional SAT scores. No, I'm joking.
Objectively awful thing. I don't know where I'd be. Because it's just, it set in motion a chain of events. and had widespread effects and consequences on so many different aspects of my life, to where my life without the pandemic might be completely different.
No, but I get what you're saying. And, obviously, like you're saying, it isn't, I would say, an objectively bad thing, but just like, if you guys see, if you guys have seen or see Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's the reality we live with, and we have to make the most of it, right? And so I don't, even though I think it's objectively bad, right, I am also accepting of the changes it brought in my life and where I ended up because of it, and I think that because something is predominantly bad doesn't mean that everything that comes with it is bad.
That's true.
I will say yeah, there were benefits to the pandemic, for example, everything transitioning to virtual platforms, although at times can be very taxing and whatnot. It was for example, easier to make meetings from anywhere, right? You didn't have to you could be more present in, for example, I was a vice president for a club I was running, and it was actually easier for me to be more present within the club, just because I could access meetings from anywhere, and so and let's be honest, going forward, even though this pandemic, even though COVID may not leave us completely,
Zoom has kind of become a standard for
exactly
any communication. It's I talked about being on that panel with the Daniels earlier. Happened on Zoom. It's just it's so fun. I remember there's this tweet that went around way back when that was man, Skype really had a 15-year head start, but Zoom still took the dub. And I'm I really did Skype like that.
That boils down to just necessity in the moment, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Another thing, we sort of mentioned necessity in the moment. A lot of parts of the pandemic sort of came together very, or at least in the early days, before, because after a certain point, the movie industry picked up again by that fall. Filming began for projects by that fall.
Mm-hmm.
I was still online for school, but things were picking up again, and there was all this talk about the new normal. I don't know. The world's just in a fundamentally different place than where it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And some of those places I think is better, because I remember where I was in 2018, and I'm obviously I wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad, but there were aspects of the world that I think have gotten better since then.
Like what?
Dog. I think you know what I'm talking about.
No, I genuinely don't. That's why
who's in the White House? Yeah, stuff like that. But also problems that need to be addressed. COVID put a lot of stress on our global systems in such a way where, you heard this all the time in the early days, and then it just sort of receded into okay, it exposed a lot of cracks and a lot of faults.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, some of those faults have healed a little, maybe been built a little stronger. Most of them are still very much around, which is kind of a pain, but yeah, what were your experiences dealing with the transition from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic? Because I feel I don't think it's too much of a stretch in saying we're kind of on the tail end of it.
I would hope so.
I would hope so, yeah.
I don't know. I'm healthier, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Mentally, physically, or both?
Well, I mean, I mean, more so mentally than anything else. I mean, like, mentally, because of it's hard. I don't, okay, because it makes it sound like, I don't want to imply that I was like, you know, like I suffering from, with mental struggles before. No, I just mean like I get more sleep now. I eat more now. I like, but also I think that's like, again, just a side effect of college and just having a more lenient schedule where my classes don't start at 7:20 in the morning.
High school.
Yeah, so.
Ain't no way we were waking up that early.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Yeah, I could never now. So, I mean,
I wonder how the teachers do it.
No idea. But I mean, I am doing better now. You know, and I think for me, it was more like personal growth and like maturity that came with the like having to adapt. I mean, COVID was our junior year. Junior was where I really woke up to like, hey, you really got to get your things together. And so, I am grateful for the person because I'm proud of the path I walked in these last 2 years. And so, like I said, like what I was saying earlier with, even though I think COVID's objectively a bad thing, I think there were some good things that came with it. Like I think the ways in which it forced me to mature and be open to,
I think it forced a lot of people to mature.
Yeah, it's just things changing on a whim and having to deal with, the hand that you're dealt, the circumstances of situations. Like you kind of just gotta, play with the restrictions, right? Like, because it's taught me that although things are can look dire, that doesn't mean that you cannot accomplish things you set out to do. Like, for example, like, carry out a community service project with an organization, or start a new club at your school, start a podcast. I don't know. Yeah, so like
shout out Outta Pocket Podcast.
Yeah, even though, I mean, I guess technically it started during COVID, but it was like we did this. We were in person when we did this, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, for me, pre and post is like just a lot of maturity and growth.
Yeah, it really coincided with such a critical period in our lives.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think we got lucky because at least it wasn't. I would have rather. I forever and always will say this. I am entirely glad that I lost like half a junior and senior year of my high school than like college. Freshman and sophomore of my college. Yeah, like I could never. Yeah, especially now being here and like knowing what it's like. Like if I was to miss out on this for like Zoom classes, no, I could never. No, I couldn't. I'm like I will take end of high school any day.
Yeah, low key, I don't know. I mean, I feel like.
I mean, I wouldn't take any. Like, ideally, right?
Ideally, it didn't.
Ideally, it wouldn't exist, but
I don't even like. I feel like maybe the kids who are 1 and 2 right now won't even remember it.
Probably not.
And it's just like, you were born into like, like everything was just hitting the fan.
Yeah.
That's wild, but.
Yeah, no, it'll be a lot similar to like the kids born around 9/11. Like,
I mean, I was born right after, so like.
Yeah, buddy, wait 4 years or 3 years for me.
Yeah, for you, right?
2.5.
Yeah, I was just over 1 year after, and like, there is straight up a generation of us who don't remember it. Even kids who were born like maybe right before it do not remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were born, like, we fully exist in a world where we realize that it was shaken by such a powerful event, but we have no personal tie to, like, the zeitgeist during that moment.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, we do now. No, like, I'm not about to, obviously, like, compare COVID to 9/11. They're completely different situations. Mm-hmm. But I will say that, like, at least one similarity between them is that like they truly shaped the minds and like shook
No, yeah,
like
for
it,
sure.
like
No.
they were very influential.
Yeah, I
Like
get what you're
big
saying
events.
because like the there is such a noticeable difference between my mother and I at airports because she remembers what like traveling was like prior to 9/11. I've always lived my life with things like TSA was like airport security. It's always been like a
Man.
thing for me. So like,
Take off my shoes by instinct. Like
well,
this.
TSA pre-check, baby.
That's true. I got that this year. It's been
But
very nice.
no, but like for her, like, cause my mom always has like a tendency to rush, cause like, at airport, like she's the one who's like, "Ah, we have to be there," and I'm like, and like it's because of like, you know, like I guess she spent, I would say, I'm thinking, I'm doing the math in my head. Yeah, I would say, yeah, she spent more years of her life like with airports not being like this than she has. So I guess, you know, like she's more like it's hard to go from that shift to like, you know, more like just quick travel through airports and now we're in this world where like airport security lines look like they're as long as the lines at Disney and like
Yeah,
right?
man.
So like I've always lived my life like this. So I kind of like I feel like, you know, I don't have that. I'm like, oh, we can get there at this time and security will be about and like right. So like you were saying, yeah, I think there's like a very it you know, like a shape to people who were alive at the time a lot, and so like you can see these differences between like, for example, like my mother and I like at airports, and yeah, I think it'll be the same for us and like the kids born now or like even right before. So
Yeah, I've always found it so inappropriate. Like yeah, it's funny, sure, but I've never really wanted to be one of the people who was like I was born in the wrong generation, because like
bro, you're the guy who's always like, I miss the 80s. Like, huh?
like nah, those are jokes, bro. That's the bit.
But like
that's
you,
me committing to a
you
bit,
really
bro.
do wish you were.
But like that's the thing. Like I have such like, you know, I love so much of the culture, like just music, movies from like 80s, 90s, 70s. Like, I mean, granted, like I can get into a whole nother discussion how I think it's very interesting that like because the human like experience has been getting so much more like codified, and just like the diversity of experiences has been getting recorded far more now than in any previous time, that like the amount of sheer culture we have has exploded to the point where like you're not going to see someone with the same level of like it would be like if someone in like I don't know, World War One was like, oh dude, the 1870s were crazy. Like I wasn't there, but like did you hear like this band or whatever? Like that obviously just
band.
I mean, you know what I mean. Like this it didn't happen because
classical music was going crazy back then.
bro, Rachmaninoff going nuts. But yeah, like you know what I mean. Like there's a sort of like I'm gonna whip out like an archaeology word that I don't really like have great knowledge of the context for, but there's so much material culture that stays we can access media in pretty much its intact original form from like 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah, the Brown Daily Herald has their newspapers recorded back to like 18.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And people in previous generations have not had the same privilege, and I'm like very interested to see like, you know, we always make jokes that like in 30 years there's gonna be someone who's like, I was born in the wrong generation, and they listen to like Doja Cat or like Justin Bieber or something.
Taylor.
Nani. But
that's not my kid. Not my kid.
And like and in like another vein, I was like thinking like I really want to share with my kids
that
like
this is a weekend only household. Yeah.
Ain't no way, bro.
The weekend only household where we do not stand Taylor in this house.
I don't know if I'd even let my kids listen to The Weeknd until they got to like middle school or something.
Okay, yeah, obviously, like elementary, bumping The Weeknd. No, I'll put them on the same trajectory. I'll give them Zed first.
I
Clarity by Zed.
I can
That's like
respect
that's a good fourth grade banger.
Ain't no way, bro. But like, I'm like, I want to share with my kids the stuff that I loved growing up, and like
Fireflies.
so true, Fireflies by Owl City, but also like Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's stuff from our generation. So like when I like force my kids to watch Avatar because that is going to happen, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this was my dad's like show growing up. Like he watched it, like, you know, like part of it as it came out. And but what if I show my kids like Star Wars, also a very foundational
That's
part.
not even us. That's not even us.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's a very foundational part of my childhood.
I mean, I guess like old Star. I mean, I guess you could show the Mandalorian and argue like, yeah.
Yeah, but I'd argue like I'm an original trilogy stan, like over most Star Wars media. Like obviously there are exceptions.
I don't know,
like,
you and McGregor.
Yeah. That's like, oh, like, I've come to
I'll
appreciate
sing for that man, bro.
I've come to appreciate the prequels. Like
that man made them. He made the prequels. I stand with. I'll say that with my chest, bro. I love his Obi-Wan.
Clone Wars, crazy, goes absolutely bonkers. Mando, of course, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like, what? Not even Star Wars. What if I showed them like Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park? Like, they aren't our movies, but they have had such cultural staying power in a way that not much has before. And there's just like, I'm already going crazy trying to like stay up to date with like TV or music or movies, because like I enjoy engaging with the world around me, and that's an avenue through which I do it. And I'm just thinking like, there's going to be stuff from this time that lasts, and there's going to be stuff that doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't entirely know what's gonna stand the test of time.
We can't know.
But like, dude, imagine if like I'm like talking to my kids one day, I'm like, oh yeah, bro, like Kendrick Lamar, like his music popped back in the day. He just came out with an album in like 2022. That's happening in like a couple of weeks. I'm kind of excited. But they're like, who's that? He's kind of obscure. I've never heard that name before. I'm just gonna be like, huh? Like obviously I think Kendrick is at a big enough level of celebrity. But you know, getting the point across, like there are gonna be people who we can't escape now, who like the generation like preceding us are just not gonna know. Yeah. I mean, I said I could get into a whole conversation about it, and then I got into that conversation about it. But yeah, before we wrap up, you got anything more you want to say?
Nah, I'm putting my kids on Infinity War, and they gotta watch it.
Oh, so yeah, I'm gonna put my kids on Marvel too.
You gotta know what a good villain's like. Thanos, best villain.
Eren Yeager. Gotta put him on AOT.
Just wait. Finish the series first, bro. That was one of the things you were saying earlier when you were talking about everything everywhere all at once, and how they like don't let things go wasted. AOT is a good example.
That's true.
They don't let anything go wasted. My man is.
Yeah, bro was really pulling out plot points from season 1.
From chapter 1.
Chapter 1. I'm like, huh.
That's how you write a story. Straight up, best anime plot in my opinion. Like for me, best anime manga plot.
I can respect.
That's my personal take. But yeah, no, just I don't know. It's weird because like, you know. I guess really quick, a new Ale Lore drop, which is kind of a nasty one because this one could go many ways. But yeah, mother's a Brown University alum. That's crazy. Though. Oh. And
dang, bro, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I mean,
you
never talked about that before. Bro.
I don't know if I've talked about it on this show, but anyways, and I bring that up because like, as you were saying with this whole like previous generation and the current generation. Like I've experienced that a lot in my entire life with like the culture, like what Brown was like, 30 years ago. Oh, I just gave away my. Anyways, what Brown was like 30 years ago, and what Brown is like now, and like, and all these things. Like she tells me about Spring Weekend and how a Tribe Called Quest was here, and like about how
ain't no way, bro. That's crazy.
About how every time she like sings Scenario, like when they like she always sings like the sort of quote unquote Brown version, because like there's a part where they were like, who's that, and then everybody like at Spring Weekend they were like Brown, and so every time she like every time she like sings a song, she always like sings it like that. It's like these things.
Dude,
that,
that's
like,
crazy.
Right, so like and for us it'll be the same, right? Like, and my mom always shows me movies. She's like, oh yeah, what's the movie? I forgot the movie. It's like one of those really old Christmas movies that they used to watch every winter at Brown, and like. It'll be different for us. It'll be like some new thing that we do every year. Like go
Funk
to Joe's
night, bro.
runs, and
We
gotta bring it back.
We gotta bring back
anyways,
Funk
that's
night.
stay tuned for that. But just like stuff like that. Like our thing will be like, yeah, we were going to Joe's runs and Nor'easters, like. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see where time takes us and what stays and what goes. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Well. That's, had a couple more things to talk about, but to quote the GOAT himself, don't you dare touch that dial. Like the track said, you are out of time. So,
with that, you've been listening to?
yeah. Yo, Loki, wait. Load it back again.
What?
Say it again.
With that, you've been listening to
101.1 FM WBRULP WFOOLP WVVXLP Providence. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Outta Pocket Podcast.
If you want to check us out, you can check us out at www.theoutapocketpodcast.com. That is OUTTA, and you can find links to our Apple Podcasts, our Spotify, our Instagram. So yeah, and just our episodes, and also a tab called Inside the Pocket, where you can find all of our sort of behind the scenes, articles that we pull up.
And I'm gonna be planning on utilizing that more in an episode in the future. Hint, secret, like I don't know, like teaser, I guess. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And normally I give out-of-pocket advice for everyone, but this one is specifically for my future kids if they ever end up listening. I'm like low-key, y'all are gonna be on the Brown grind. Like I hate to say it, you're gonna be getting put in the Bruno onesies.
Nah. Hey, you just stole that from me, because that's been my thing.
It's gonna happen, bro. If our kids went to Brown together, cracked.
Well,
next generation Out-of-Pocket Podcast.
Just gotta make it happen. But yeah, with that being said, catch you guys later and take care.